Good morning, everyone. Thank you for tuning into this edition of El Cafecito. With us today, we have the Director of Schools and College Relations, Julie Schniers. We also have my fellow Inclusion and Engagement Leader with us today, Zach Peterson. So go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself, Julie.
Well, thanks for having me on. This is so fun. I love that you guys do this, and I'm so excited to get to answer questions, hopefully have better answers than I don't know. So I'm new to Angelo State. I started in August. I'm super excited to be here. I was the speech and debate coach at Central High School for 13 years. And I loved that. I loved coaching. I loved working with students. I loved the life skills pieces of it so much. So I kind of still miss just getting to be around students a lot, but I love what I get to do now. So as the Director of Schools and College Relations, I get to talk to schools about dual credit. I get to work with high schools that are doing things on campus. For example, UIL region that's coming up in April. So that's one of the things that I get to kind of organize and put together. But I get to work in the Student Affairs and Enrollment Office, which really and truly has a ton of neat little pieces I get to just be a part of. And on top of that, I also get to speak and do consulting for school districts and businesses on the power of relationship building. So I have a few little irons in my fire on top of a third grader and a kindergartner and, mom life.
That's amazing. It sounds like you have the funnest job in the world, honestly.
Good. I'm glad that you, most days I think it is fun. I really do enjoy it a lot. Yeah.
Wonderful. So let's go ahead and get started.
Right.
What time does your alarm go off in the morning?
Oh man, 5:45 in the morning is when it goes off. And if I can get myself out of bed on time, that's when I get out of bed. And if not, I push snooze, which is a terrible habit that I kind of might have some days. Hey. So I might snooze till like 6 in the morning.
Hey,
yeah,
that's all right. I think, for the most part, we all hit the day, rolling real good, but some days we just need that snooze button. I know I do.
Yeah, I need a lot of days.
Every day.
Every day. Yeah.
What is your go-to video or GIF for a laugh?
Anything from Schitt's Creek.
Yes, thank you.
COVID life gave us the opportunity to explore Netflix in all of its glory. And when I started watching Schitt's Creek, I was like, this is ridiculous. I'm not going to waste my time on this show. And I had some friends that said, if you just get through the first season. And of course, I tried again, and now I'm in love with it. Literally every character, every little funny blurb that they have that was turned into a GIF, I'm all about. Yeah.
Moira Rose is an icon.
Oh, for sure. And when you watch like how they made that show, and when they were deciding who to cast in those characters, and how she started with her character and then evolved into what it is, it's incredible. Her as an actress is really and truly one of my favorites. So yeah, Schitt's Creek, anything about it.
Where's your favorite place to get takeout or delivery from?
Oh man. Shoot. You know what? I don't know that I have a favorite, but my kids do. And it's Chick-fil-A, which means that's, where we end up in line at the most is Chick-fil-A. So I guess we'll go with that one.
That's fair. That's a fair choice.
Yeah. Once you're a mom, like you lose all ability to make decisions on your own. So really and truly, like, what is your kid's favorite anything? Let's just ask the rest of the questions that way. Yeah. Don't hold my answers.
There you go. What's your favorite quote from a movie or TV show,
Ooh, okay. So I'm hoping I can even remember it in all its glory. I should look it up. One of my favorite shows was Scandal.
Oh.
I was so sad when they decided to stop making new seasons of that. But I'll just tell a quick little story about it. So when Olivia Pope would talk to her people, she would talk about them being gladiators. Did either of you watch the show? Scandal?
I never have.
Okay, well, you have to go Google it now. Okay, so she would talk to her people about being gladiators, and these people really swooped in, like covered a ton of random things that happened, with the politics and politicians. So there's tons of like risque weirdness about it. But she would talk to her people about being gladiators and how you have to kind of just get up and dust yourself off and wipe your sword off and let's go again. There was a point in the show where she just kind of wanted to quit. And one of her people said to her, you don't get to quit. You have to be a gladiator. You pick yourself up, you wipe the blood off your sword, and you live to fight another day. And I was super close with my speech and debate coach from high school. And we kind of reconnected when I started coaching. And he was famous, which I kind of was famous for as well, for giving quotes. And there was a day that I was having a really, really hard day. And he sent me that quote, not even knowing that it was one of my very favorite shows. And that day, I just really needed that. I needed that reminder to get up and dust yourself off and keep moving forward. And he passed away a couple of years ago. And I shared that story with my speech and debate team when I was coaching. And one of my students, and it hangs in my office space, and he says, we are gladiators in this room. And he made that for us to have in the classroom. And of course, I just carried it with me because it was so important to me. But that is just a beautiful reminder that you're going to have bad days and you just have to dust yourself off and keep going.
I love that. And I love the philosophy behind, that resiliency. I love that. That's amazing. That's an amazing.
I'm glad you didn't like the philosophy and you didn't mind me rattling on about the story since I couldn't remember the exact quote.
Hey, I'm gonna have to give the show a watch now, honestly. Going into our next thing, and I guess, it may be the same, may not. What's the most interesting thing or your favorite thing you have near you right now?
That I have near me right now?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I don't know if it's interesting, but just to share something different. Okay, so this is my planner because I am an avid planner. So let's just talk for 2 seconds about the power of being a good planner, okay? I believe in the power of making sure that you have your day mapped out so that you are the most beneficial. Like, this is what my calendars look like. Like, it's just crazy. And honestly, I was a planner in college. I guess that's probably, that's a lie. High school, I started being a planner because I went to Seminole High School, which is a smaller school. What?
Did you have Stott as a...
So Stott, no, I didn't, but he was my mentor.
Oh,
did you?
wow.
Are you from Seminole?
I'm from Seminole, yeah.
Oh my God, Aaron, how did we not already establish this?
Crazy.
So I'm from Seminole, and Stott, he came after I graduated. But when I started coaching, he was the one that kind of helped me figure out the roles for all 3 different organizations and all that. Yeah. And, he's all retired and living life. Anyway, back to Angela State, fun stuff. Okay. So in high school in Seminole, as you now know, Aaron, I was involved in everything. I did stock shows, I did speech and debate, I did theater, I did choir, I did student council and NHS and golf and every little thing, church, all the things. So I had to use a planner. And that was my livelihood of being able to survive. It's also when I learned what, 5 a.m. looked like. Went to college, right? And I thought, I'm going to get 2 degrees in 4 years because I'm dumb. So 21 hours, 19 hours, let's play at Tech. That's where I went. So again, the planner had to come into place. And then, when I started coaching, that was just impactful. When we had children is when I convinced my husband that a planner is important, because at that point, you're balancing basketball and volleyball and piano and 4-H cooking and oh my gosh, all the things. So we all live on a planner. So if I lost my planner, I'd be in big trouble. So there you go. The most impactful thing around me.
I'm right there with you, and that's something I'm picking up on just now. As a nursing student, they were kind of like, yeah, you're going to need a planner. I was like, no, not at all. Oh no, you do.
I mean, why did you fight it, Aaron?
I'm still fighting it.
I tell you the same thing I told my husband. Like, why are you fighting this? We wouldn't miss things if you would put it down in our planner.
Exactly. I know better now. Thank God.
I mean, your wife someday will thank you. So yeah. Zach, are you a planner?
I haven't quite learned my lesson yet. Things catch me by surprise and I roll with it. So
well, that's also a beautiful skill. So that's okay. You're not even in your 30s yet. My husband didn't learn till his 30s, so you're fine.
I'll get there. 1 year away. So it's about my time, but
I love it.
All right. Well, just go ahead and say thank you for being here. And I'm new to the crew here, so this is going to be my first experience interviewing. So, Aaron, thanks for bringing me around and showing me the ropes. So we'll get started with my questions, and then we'll just keep trading off.
Perfect.
Okay. So, what do you work toward in your free time?
You know what? I guess I work toward free time. Isn't that sad?
Okay.
Like I literally, free time is just something that oof, I don't have a ton of that. And I think it's great to have free time. And I'm an advocate of you need to take care of yourself and have self-care time. But if my self-care time is not even put in my planner, it doesn't happen. So really, I work towards planning my day around having a few minutes to do something that is for me. Working out is something that's really important to me. So trying to throw that in my day, which the busier I get, the harder it is. So I really am just having to even schedule those pieces. But I guess working towards having free time where I can do a movie night with my kids and not feel like I need to be connected or, checking my email and stuff.
Yeah.
It's important, just little things like that, being able to be present. I guess that's probably the most impactful takeaway from that answer and question is really being present with wherever you are and being all in is really important. And we live in such a distracted world where it's so easy for me to get on my phone and check my emails in the middle of movie night with my kids, right? Like it's hard for me to just be present, but I'm really working towards being where your feet are. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. It's so easy to forget that I guess that just amidst everything that we are doing, and it's easy to want to keep yourself busy and feel that as soon as you are idle or whatever you want to call it, that you have to line something else up for yourself. So that's right on. So
there it is. I'm glad we agree, Zach.
Okay, so what app on your phone would you recommend college students get immediately?
Let's see. You know what? I'm going to go with LinkedIn. And there's apps on my phone that I could talk about, but that one, just to share out my thoughts on LinkedIn, I think LinkedIn is in the beginning stages of being the ultimate connector. I do believe a lot of professors say, hey, get on LinkedIn. You create this profile and then you never do anything with it, which I guess when you're still in college and you're not in your career path, that's okay. But here's what I love about LinkedIn. I wish the whole world had LinkedIn mentality. What I mean by that is this. LinkedIn is the only social platform that is selfless. The way that LinkedIn works is the more you work on giving others feedback, the more that you connect with others and then read what they write and comment, give a good comment, not that's awesome, but really and truly read and reflect and use your brain to take it in and give good reflective feedback, the more you get pushed into the algorithm. So it really is one of those things. When I started LinkedIn in my speaking business, I was like, I don't know how to do this. Nothing, I post good things and nothing gets traction. I don't know how to make traction. And I had a friend, Aaron, he was Speech and Debate World back in the day at Lubbock High School. And he does marketing in the Austin area now. So Garrett and I visited, and Garrett was like, hey, this is what you need to do. You need to stop worrying about you and worry about other people first. So I took down, I'm going to only post 2 or 3 times a week max. And I'm just on the other days that I'm working for my other business, I'm going to work towards other people and just giving them feedback and learning and just absorbing what I can absorb from all the incredible things on there. And then all of a sudden I started getting traction. So it really is written to be a selfless social media platform. And I think the whole world could use a lesson in being selfless and thinking about others first. So LinkedIn mentality is something that I love.
Absolutely.
So the world of growing you as a professional, also LinkedIn is it.
I think I had to set one of those up. I got out of the Army in 2014, and as a part of that process, you go through transitional classes and they make you do that. And so I haven't messed with it since then, and I need to look back into it and see I had never really knew what set it apart, I guess. I knew it was professionally driven, but yeah, that's
and I'm still learning, so
yeah.
dive into it and find something else out that's new. I'm all about hearing it, but that's what I have learned thus far, and that's what I really love about it. Yeah.
Okay. I'm surprised I haven't heard anyone say the Blackboard app yet.
I mean, I have Blackboard app because I'm actually taking classes, but I have a Blackboard app on my phone, and it's
I guess that's a given.
I mean, okay.
No, I'm just being silly over here. Okay. Next, what is the silliest thing you're passionate about?
Oh my gosh. The silliest thing that I'm passionate about.
It's a really objective question, but
I guess I'll take it any direction I want. The silliest thing that I am passionate about is dance-offs in my kitchen. So one of the things that I love to do when I'm stressed is turn my music up really loud. And I do this in my car too, like, just to be open and honest. Nothing like turning on Post Malone really loud in my car and just jamming out so that I can breathe through a difficult day. But I can't transition Post Malone to my house because I have a third grader and kindergartner, right? So we turn on, Taylor Swift, and they have songs that they love that we take turns requesting. And we turn it on really loud in the kitchen, and we'll have just dance-offs in the kitchen to help relieve stress. And there's been multiple times that I've had a bad day, and I thought, you know what? And I rally up the kids, everybody in the kitchen, and we turn on the music and we do just dance moves until the song is over. And it's gone to where my third grader will even go, Mom, can we just dance it out in the kitchen? And I just think that that's a beautiful thought process that I hope she takes with her for the rest of her life. I remember growing up, my dad taught me to dance in the kitchen. Of course, it was like country dance, Those memories are so special. And I believe in the power of creating memories that get you through hard times, and stress and dancing. Hey, they go hand in hand if you're in my brain. So
yeah,
something that I love doing. So that's a silly thing I'm passionate about.
What's your go-to move?
Oh my gosh, I don't think I have a go-to move. My go-to move is probably just like flailing my arms around in the air. Okay. I mean, I'm a great country and swing dancer. I can do crazy, but you might be ashamed of me if you watch me really jam.
No, it's all about the fun. It's all about the energy. And
yeah. My kids have some pretty good dance moves too. So yeah, we just do whatever comes to mind and call it a day.
That's awesome. Okay, moving on. Would you rather know the history of every object you touched or be able to talk to animals?
Be able to talk to animals. Nobody wants to know the history of all the crap they're touching. Oh, you have these diseases on you. Good. That's so, especially COVID life, right? Oh, my lip gloss that I shared with someone 2 months ago. Oh, no, nobody wants to know the history of the things that they touch in my mind. But of course, we're in COVID world. So the first thing that came to my mind was germs. I guess if we're going how you were manufactured, somebody else might say that. I'd rather talk to animals because I think that would be super neat to know what they're thinking. And then you would always have a friend everywhere you went.
Yeah. I think the key to either of these powers is being able to turn them on and off.
I think the key to any power.
Yeah.
On and off. We do these little conversation starters at our dinner table. We keep them at our dinner table. So my kids will grab a little conversation starter card, and then we'll ask the question. The whole table has to answer it. And a couple nights ago, my son's question was, what superpower would you want to have? And that thought process was the same in that conversation. Because of course, he wants to fly and she wants to read minds. And all I can think is, would I get sick if I was flying? And if I read minds all the time, would that really affect my self-esteem? I'm not real sure, I need to be able to turn it off. I'm with you on that. Yeah.
Okay. Did you love working from home, or would you rather be in the office? And is there a balance of both that you like best?
Zach, I think there's a balance.
Yeah.
So when COVID started, I was still at Central, and I had 6 preps, and I was department chair for 2 of our 7 departments at Central. I was in 6 Zooms a day guaranteed. And of course, my small children were in Zooms, and that was just miserable. But again, my husband's a farmer. There was not COVID on the farm, right? So he's out. And I'm janitor, cafeteria worker, counselor, principal, teacher to kinder and third and high school of all these different preps on top of department chair. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's awful. So I have PTSD from working from home just because in the beginning it was just so awful. I think it's different when you don't have so many people. When I'm working from home and my kids are at school, and that's fine. Like start some laundry, work out at lunch, like fabulous. You know, it's a whole different ballgame. But I really like the idea of the people who are your support system being next door. I really love working in the office. I have a question and I can pop next door and say, hey, how do you do this? For example, the technical difficulties we approached today, right? Like I don't like being and feeling kind of shut off from the world in moments of panic. So maybe there's a balance.
Yeah, absolutely.
See, I absolutely agree in that aspect. You know, I really, in some aspect, you know, I enjoy being able to like just shoot someone an email or shoot a text, but in that same regard, you know, you may have that communication buffer where you need something right away, but you can't necessarily get that. So,
well, you know, go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead. I wasn't going to say anything.
I'm just such an advocate for relationship building. I mean, I see the power of relationships and communication. And I know that there's a lot from COVID that will stick. I know that there are things that will forever be changed in education and in the world of business. But I also believe those who are good at communication in person are going to hold skill sets that could be something that we have a whole generation of people struggling with in, you know, a few years or decades. So I think it's something to think through. If you loved being at home and you end up just staying at home, what does that do? How does that affect you? How does that affect your business or your world? And then, you know, just in the world of relationships, how are we working on relationships if we're not doing it in person? What extra routes are you taking to really build relationships with the people that you have to work with if you don't get to see them? Because there's a lot of value in that.
Yeah, I think it's kind of driven us to realize that after, you know, the first few weeks of being cooped up, like in your home, and we're in a world where we're used to social media and all these connections being essentially based through online communication or texting or anything like that. And so it's interesting that how being cooped up has been like that contrast. Like, I really need this connection, this face-to-face connection.
Well, not only that, I mean, the depression rates and abuse rates having gone up, which, you know, could be argued that it's linked to the stress at home. You know, there's lots of theories, but those rates jumping the way they did, I think is just another indicator that we need people.
Yeah.
We need time with people.
Well, now we have to, you know, go to change of, you know, tone now.
Okay, let's do it. Let's change.
Would you rather
to the kitchen.
Those are good. Those are good conversation points. Would you rather have all traffic lights you approach become green or never have to stand in line again?
Oh my gosh.
That's a tough one.
Both. Can
Right?
I have both? Okay, so now that we've talked about what a planner I am, I have to-do lists on my phone that are for me to do in case I get stuck in line. So literally I'm like, oh, this is something I can work on if I get stuck sitting in line somewhere. Isn't that awful? That's how busy I am. Isn't that ridiculous? So really, if I could, I don't know, but I don't like traffic either. You know, if you were to give me the option of never getting pulled over again and getting to go as fast as I want, that's probably what I would have chosen.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one too.
But we'll go today with not having to stand in line.
Oh, that's fair. That's fair.
Now that I have shared out too many about the things I should be ashamed of. Carry on.
If you were famous, you want that one, or do you want to move over it?
Oh, give me another one. I don't know.
Another one? How about 13? No 13?
I mean, you can ask me. I don't know. Ask me.
Okay. If you could choose one element to control, what element would you choose?
Okay, so I really have no clue.
No.
Oh, what would you choose?
I'm thinking, you know, like the, you know, water, fire, earth, and air kind
of course. Yeah, no, for sure. But Zach, what would you choose?
I think water.
Water.
Okay, so I was thinking water too, but then here's the question in my head. If I choose water, now we're gonna just roll reverse this interview. If I choose water, then what am I doing with that water?
In my understanding, because I don't I'm not sure I entirely understand either, but I would say anything. Like you can produce it, you can stop it, you can move it around. That's in my world.
Like today, I would like for it to rain. I could just be like, "Hello, rain, water down on me."
Yeah, or you can just make it flow from your fingertips.
I just don't know.
Or somebody else's fingertips. That'd be funny.
Or like wind. If I give myself wind, could the wind blow me places so it's almost like flying?
Hey, I think that'd be fair.
If I can do those things, then I think I'd choose wind so that I could fly around to get to places faster.
That'd be cool.
Okay. All right. There's your back for boys.
What is the process for making your favorite dish?
Oh, man. So that's a hard question. One, because I hate cooking. Matter of fact, when I was dating in college, I had a couple of requirements. And one of them was he had to be able to cook and be willing to cook meals. Like literally, I'd be like, oh, you don't cook because you'll never cook. You know, I think we're done here. Like that was the reason for me to end a relationship. Like I'm not living my life with you. So I hate cooking. And I try really hard to eat healthy. So man, finding a dish always looks like, hey, let me go to Pinterest and find a recipe so that I can put together with, and what do I have in my fridge? My mother is famous for going to the fridge and her pantry and just throwing together an incredible dish. I am not. I have to have a recipe and I have to follow it. So, I mean, even looking at like my favorite dishes, they're like broccoli that I could dip in ranch. Like, how do you create that? Well, I take a knife, I chop off the end and I dip ranch. Like, that's my favorite dish. Okay. Yeah, I'm not, I like omelets. So I guess we can, yeah. I won't go through the process of preparing it though, because that's just going to be a waste of time.
Hey, you could argue you enjoy very versatile foods, you know,
Yes.
You can do anything with a salad, an omelet,
Yes.
you know?
Yes. And here's how you do it. You go to Pinterest.
Yeah.
That's what you do. There it is.
Fair enough.
Awesome. So how did going to college shape you as a person?
Ooh, that's such a great question. You know, what's crazy about college life for me, both of my parents, they went to South Plains College, and my mom graduated with her associates and my dad did not. So, you know, going to South Plains College was what they knew. And then they both got married and that was it. Like, that's what they did. So when I started looking for colleges, you know, we weren't like hey, we always talk about college kind of family. So my parents were like, hey, you're going to South Plains. That's it. I'm like, oh, okay. Like I didn't know, you know, we didn't go look at schools. I never had the opportunity really to kind of shop around and choose, because my parents were like, this is what we know and can afford. And this is what you're doing because it's close enough to home. And that's just it. That's what you're doing. I didn't really have let me go figure out what college I want to go to. So I went to 1 year at South Plains, which I loved. It was a great transition for me, I guess. But I was done. Like, that's all I could do because I graduated with 18 hours in dual credit world and, you know, my double major that you couldn't get the classes you needed. So I transferred to Texas Tech right then. So really being able to learn that sometimes you just have to do the digging yourself and fight for what you want and need. The hard part is I didn't know what I didn't know. Mm-hmm. So just digging in and being willing to ask questions and figure out what it is you even want to fight for, I guess, is really impactful. But I loved tech. I love going to school there. And I have a lot of fantastic memories from my college days. I do wish that I would have studied less. My brother will still be like, oh, remember that time? And I'm like, no. And he's like, yeah, that's right. You were studying. Like, it's just, I studied a little bit too much. I didn't have fun in my planner. So, you know, I wish I would have, if I could go back and do college, I would have slowed down and taken less hours a semester and enjoyed life a little bit more, because these are the best days of your life. Because then you get a big kid job and you just thought your 8 a.m. class was bad.
Absolutely. You know, and I think I share that with you in the sense that, you know, my parents were just kind of like, you're right there. You can commute if you want. This is what we can afford. And it wasn't so more of like making, not necessarily the compromises, but, you know, doing the research and saying, hey, you know, this school is actually just as affordable kind of thing, you know? And
right.
It's funny that we shared that kind of.
Yeah, that is. That's neat. I'm glad I'm not alone.
Was it my turn?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, sorry, we can edit this
Oh,
out, right?
No, not at all. You're good.
Okay. What strategies do you use to make big decisions?
I'm kind of like a tally kind of person. Like, let me just write down all the pros and cons and we'll create a tally.
Yeah.
It's kind of what I do, but I always talk to people that I think know what's going on that link to that decision and can give me a little bit of input. I think it's impactful to talk to people that know more in that area than maybe you do, and then really to tally it out, because I think there's always pros and cons. So sometimes you just have to weigh it out and take the good with the bad.
Yeah, absolutely. I have a 6-year-old daughter, and this past week she just started learning about pros and cons. So she's been making lists for everything, and it's awesome.
I love that.
She's gonna teach me a thing or two. What commercial jingle gets stuck in your head all the time?
I don't. You know what? The only thing I could think of is back in the day, and I'm really gonna date myself because you probably haven't even heard of it. But there was a Chili's. I want my baby back, baby back.
Oh yeah,
I want my baby back. Chili's baby back ribs. Yep.
great.
That is the only jingle that I could think of that has ever just annoyingly been stuck in my head.
Mine is the Folgers.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Good one, classic.
I love that.
Okay, what life hacks have you found to be particularly effective?
Man, I don't know if this is exactly what you're thinking or how impactful it will be, but I think confidence is something that everyone has to work through at some point in their life. When I coached, I said more times than I can count, fake it till you make it, fake it till you become it. There is a TED Talk by Amy Cuddy, and she talks about the power of how we fill our space, the nonverbal communication. How do we communicate with our own heart? So she talks about the power pose. It's like if you stand even in the bathroom before an interview with a really big power pose for 2 minutes before you go in, studies show that you will feel more confident walking in, which really just showcases the truth that you can create your own confidence in your head, even if it's just to get through those moments. So ways that I create confidence in my head, and I learned this in college when I did pageantry stuff. A good pair of heels will take me real far in confidence. So sometimes you can just throw on a pair of heels and some lipstick and I can conquer the world. Like, it just is what it is. Really is. It links back to what Amy Cuddy talks about in that TED Talk. And it's just kind of discovering your confidence hacks. And I think that's really important in life, because I am about to be 36 and there is still moments in my everyday life that I have to go, okay, all right, I have this, I think it's something that you might always kind of face, unless you're just like, have a huge ego, and then you have a whole different set of issues. Yeah.
Okay. How would you tweak the Olympics to make them even more enjoyable?
You want to know something awful and you're going to be ashamed. I almost said, don't ask this question. I don't watch the Olympics. I don't, who has time to just veg out on the Olympics? Like, if there's no time, I don't have time for that. There's some things like I'll catch it in passing, like, oh, that's cool. Like, oh, they've got a little shuffle thing. What are they doing with that stick down there? I don't understand. Okay. That's a weird sport. They train for that. Okay. Ice skating, that's pretty. I like that. But of course, like, I don't, well, so
there's no shame in that. Absolutely. I don't follow any sports, but I will watch the Olympics.
Yeah.
Casually.
Yeah. Casually. Like, if it's on.
Yeah.
And I probably have better things to do. The only sports that I really invest in are the ones that I have to be in because my children are playing. Like, literally, I don't sit around and watch that much.
Hey, no shame in that. Okay, what's the story behind how you met your best friend?
Oh my gosh, I think that's really difficult because I'm a bad friend. So, let's just twist the question. Okay, so my best friends have always been guys.
Okay.
I do not do well always with females. I'm just now at a point in my life that I really even have girlfriends. It's always, I mean, I had girlfriends in high school, but we were kind of close, not really. My best friend was a guy in high school. My best friend was a guy in college. Matter of fact, when I met my husband, I'm like, this is my best friend. His name is Skylar. And if you can't be friends with him and you're not okay with my best friend being a guy, then we are not going to make it. He's like, oh, my best friend's a girl. Her name is Lindsay. Great. So we can make it. Okay. Like, I can't do the whole jealousy, weird pieces about it. But my best friend now is a guy I coached with for a long time. And those people were probably the people that pushed me, and maybe that's partially why I don't do petty well, and I don't do like, oh, we couldn't meet for brunch, so now we can't be, we don't talk very much. Like, I need someone to pick up the phone in 2 months and it'd still be okay that we haven't connected in a while, and you still know that I care about you and that my life just got a little bit busy. So someone who pushes me to be my best and will push against me but still support me all the time. And so that person really right now is a friend that I met and coached against. So
okay. Wow.
That's awesome. And I like that you bring up that point that, like, hey, I need someone who can be an adult and talk to me one month, 2 months later, and everything's going to be fine. I'm like, why didn't you talk? Well, I got busy, like, it's not
I think in high school and college, that's hard.
Yeah.
I think that's really hard in those points. And I was as busy at those points in my life because of who I was. I mean, how many times have we talked about my plan? Because of who I was then, and I still am now, like that, those pieces are just a part of me. So, I was going to be busy and I was going to miss things. And I didn't want us to not be able to be friends because I wasn't part of that. And girls sometimes are mean, like junior high, which I was 5'6" in the 5th grade, y'all. So I was huge. I'm 5'10" now. I'll say 5'9" to most people, and I wear heels all the time because my husband's 6'6". Like, that was one of the things. Like, if I can wear heels around you, great. Let's talk about it. So I'll wear 3 and 4 inch heels. That's fine. But I really struggled with self-confidence, and there were just a lot of mean girls in junior high. So maybe I just had a really bad taste in my mouth. And, a lot of that linked into high school too, like just people. I was huge. I was 5'6", and people would be like, oh, the sub's here, like, oh, it's just hard. Yeah. Girls were super mean in junior high. So I guess I just always carefully navigated those relationships after that.
Yeah.
Now that we're almost talking on that topic, in what ways do you think the current generation is different from your own generation?
Man, you know what? I would like to pretend that I know you all well, since I just left the classroom, but I think you are a lot more accustomed to finding friends online and being a part of the online scene. I have helped navigate quite a few situations with students and bullying online. And I think, God, that's awful. That's way worse than the bullying that we had back in the day, but then again, on the flip side, there's also a lot more opportunities and beautiful options that exist for high school and college kids today than they did when I was then, or even when my parents were, going through college. So I know that the evolution of it exists. I know that like I said earlier, the pros and cons are always going to work hand in hand. I do think that you're a little bit more of a fast-paced generation in that everything's accessible on your phone. So you can just like quickly do things, but I've adapted to that as well. So I have a problem with doing I just want to, like right now, like you can't Amazon Prime that, like what, So I don't know, I guess just wanting things now and the accessibility, which sometimes can be a little bit scary in your decision-making process because it's just always super quick, maybe.
Oh yeah, and I agree with you. And of course, like it's a good and a bad thing, and it's that impulsiveness and that what would you call it? I can't find the word. That quick that like excessive want for like instant want gratification. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Well, and you know what though? Gosh, I mean, even with like my business, my speaking business, that's difficult because instant, what could I do to get more, noticeability in that piece? So it's the same for me in that. So if it's worse for your generation than it is for me, like I can't imagine the worry about that. I do think though that we're going to see a curve of people having to kind of just relax a little bit on needing that like or heart or action right away, which I think if you can battle that, you're going to be a more confident you. So it's worth battling sooner in life than later.
Yeah, absolutely. What is the closest thing to magic?
The closest thing to magic?
Yeah, what would you consider the most closest thing to magic within, life?
A mom's purse. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
my bag is the closest thing to magic. I could live out of my car for a week and probably clothe both of my children through, whatever. That's,
Hey,
yeah, a mom's purse.
Moms are superheroes, man.
For sure. Yep. Closest thing to magic, man.
There you go. I like that.
Yeah.
What is the most interesting thing you've read or seen this week?
Oh man. That's a great question. I'm currently reading a book called Helping People Change. I like the book a ton because the self-reflection in it is really neat. The awakening the desire to change is the chapter that I'm on right now. And I think the thought process that we always are growing or should be growing as humans is a really impactful idea to hold on to. I think that the day you stop reading and the day that you stop growing is the day that you kind of just stop giving back and dying, not just you as a person, but your legacy. So I think it's really impactful that you keep growing and changing and learning. And that's exactly what I'm doing. So Helping People Change is a pretty good book. It's inspiring.
I love that. And, honestly, I'd have to say that's one of my, if I had a grand fear is becoming, static or complacent in what I'm doing. So, I'm always wanting to learn.
Yeah, me too. Me too. Yep.
It's interesting because that almost kind of contributes to the need for busyness, and then going back to free time. It's almost like the fear of one contributes to the other.
Facts. Stop. God.
I'm sorry. You just got me in my head.
We need to talk about my problems now. You're right. I know. No, I know.
Let us know how the book turns out.
So okay. How did you change? Yeah, no, really, chapter 2 ends with in your life stages, who's been most impactful? And I had to create a graph of childhood to adolescence, high school, university, and then early to mid-career, who was most impactful in your life and what links did they have. And it was really interesting because some of the issues that I had in one stage made me completely turn to a different kind of person and motivator in another stage. So just kind of recognizing where you're at and how you can be better and how you can help others around you is what it's about. But, yeah.
Sounds awesome.
Yep. Working on those issues, Zach. I don't need you to keep bringing them up on me now.
I'll stop. I'm done.
There's a lot of irony in this next question. I'm really excited to hear what the next answer is. What's your favorite way to waste time?
Did we talk about this? To have time to waste is the goal.
Yeah.
I guess if I really just take off and I let myself be, my husband and I every night, or not every night, gosh, first time this month, we did it last night, was just to watch this show on Netflix, just a show, not even a movie. So just time to kind of just veg out and watch a little bit of TV is nice. Because I don't take time to really do that much. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because, even things like when my kids have a birthday party, I kind of see it as a chore. I've got to go do that thing and I've got to go make sure they've got all their things. And then who am I going to visit with? Is there anything I can do in the parking lot while I'm waiting? Or, just to be I'm not thinking about anything. I'm going to sit on the couch and watch TV for just a second.
Yeah.
But I only do that once in a blue moon. So.
Busy.
That's ridiculous, isn't it?
What did you do on your last vacation?
Well, I just got back. I did the weekend with my kiddos in Ruidosa.
Oh, fun.
It was fun. I am a warm weather girl. I'd rather be on the beach. I'd rather water ski than snow ski any day. My husband wanted to snow ski and he wanted to go very far away, and I get really car sick, so we settled on Ruidosa and we did that. It was fun getting to do those little things with my kiddos. for the first time. It was the first time that we'd ever taken them snow skiing and tubing. So that was fun. Being around the beautiful trees was nice. So
It was amazing this time of year.
Yeah, that was good.
Did the kids enjoy skiing, or did they take lessons or anything like that?
They did. They took lessons and we skied a little bit. I mean, I'm going to say skied. I snow plowed a little bit, just like snow plow down the mountain together. So my husband's skiing and I'm snow plowing. That's how that really looked. And then, you go and do it with your kids. And Zach, you probably know if you've taken your little girl skiing. There was even a point, I'll just tell this most embarrassing moment. There was a point that I was trying to get my 6-year-old on this ski lift, or the lift, the chair. And the guy was not paying attention at all. And Cohen was trying to get on, he was struggling. So I'm trying to lift him up and get him on because it's moving away. And he was not helping me. He was making it more difficult because he's 6. And the next thing I know, I'm under the, lift and my skis are popped off. And that guy's sending him up by himself. And I'm like, wait, my kid, don't fall off. Oh my God. Yep.
That's terrifying.
It was definitely terrifying. And I might have been more concerned because I thought my child could fall off the ski lift riding by themselves when they're that little, and they're probably fine. But if I had to just let him fall, I guess.
Yeah.
Fall off before you get high up. And I was so worried about him. And then I hurt myself. Oh my God. There was a whole line of people watching me. It was so fun. So fun.
That sounds great.
Yep. So great. Zach, it was wonderful. Yep. What was the question? I don't even, how are we here? Why am I telling these stories on myself? Come on.
I
Start
love
over.
It's for the greater good of, people in
so that
the
everyone
community.
can have a laugh at my expense. All right, I'm in. Let's talk other most embarrassing moments. I have some. I've got some good ones.
Hey, I've got time.
Okay, most embarrassing college memory. Let's do this.
Oh.
I would tell this one to my students when I was teaching because I'd always make them share a most embarrassing story. So I am in college and I am in a pageant. I did a few pageants. I fell into them. It really helped mold my confidence because I was asked to do them and then it ended up working out. And I got to be Miss Lubbock USA while I was a tech, and I held about 5 more titles after that. But this one was one of my first, and I had this sequence dress that was kind of heavy and the whole back was cut out. So you kind of had pageant girl world, you have all kinds of tricks and trades and tape in random places. So I had my dress being held up by tape and I'm walking on stage and they have us being escorted by 2 guys from the college ROTC. So they're, beside you walking and I'm like, I feel like I've got to adjust myself real fast because this dress is falling. I'm fixing to walk on stage in front of hundreds of people. So I adjust myself real fast, this decision, these guys, whatever, it's fine. It's not the whole audience. And then I look up and I realize that there is a part of the audience, including the judge panel, that could see me. And this little boy in the front row goes, I hope that girl wins. I don't think anything was seen, but besides me just not confidently striking a pose before I walked on stage, and I wanted to die. But what do? At that point, you're walking on stage when you realize it, suck it up and roll and smile and pretend you're fine. And we were walking on stage. It was the last parade before our onstage answer. So you don't have a lot of time before you have to shuck your worry and put your big girl panties back on. It was awful. I was so embarrassed. I did win the pageant though, so that was good.
There you go.
Most embarrassing moment could have been way worse if I'd lost, and they'd have been like, "Oh, well, if only you'd have been a little more professional on stage the whole time." That would have been worse. So I guess it's not the worst, but it was pretty embarrassing because it was a couple hundred people that watched me adjust my dress. Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm sorry we made you relive that.
Oh, it's for the greater good, right? Is that what you said? It was for the greater good.
Something like that. Yeah, I don't know if that's exactly right, but so who in your life brings you the most joy?
Probably my kids, and that's probably a pretty easy answer, but I really do love my kids. They're a lot of fun. We have a lot of good times together. Brinley is a lot like me. She's a little adult me, in a 3rd grade body, which is maybe sad for her sometimes. She's got a planner. She plans everything out. She makes lists, act like your little girl. And she is the sweetest heart though. She is so thoughtful about her little friends, and she worries so much about making sure everyone is included, which is something that I also have I worry about. I want no one to be unincluded, and I love that piece of her is there. But she's a little perfectionist to a flaw, so we have that in common. And then my son is just wild and crazy. He's just like my little brother was. I mean, he's just crazy. Like I feel like I apologize to his teacher a lot. Like I'm really sorry. I don't know why he did that. I can't. But he's so sweet. He's snuggly, and he loves to just snuggle on the couch still, and watch him together. And he's so sweet, but he's a lot of fun. So my kids, for sure.
You said your daughter's name is Brinley.
Brinley, and my son's name's Cohen.
Okay, my daughter's name is Kinley, but she has an imaginary friend named Brinley. So
maybe the real Brinley should meet your sweet little
maybe
girl.
so. She would be all over that.
That'd be fun. I love it.
Okay, what skill would you like to master?
You know what? I wish I could speak Spanish. I mean, I'm not even trying to master that skill. I went to, in high school, I took 3 years of Spanish. I was in the Spanish National Honor Society. Okay, Aaron, at Seminole, I was with Mr. Braun. Was he your teacher too? Yep, still there. I cannot speak uno, dos, tres, like, por favor, very minimum. I went to tech and I was like, I cannot do real Spanish in college world. I will die. So I took sign language, which really was a gift. I loved taking sign language. It was really neat. My very first year teaching, I had a student who was deaf. So it was neat to be able to just visit with her myself without having to go through the interpreter. And she kind of was I'm going to be late to class and whatever, because you're not going to count me tardy. And she, because she had struggles in her life. So she kind of just, like that. And so the first time I signed to her that she wasn't going to be late to my class anymore, she's like, what the heck, because no teacher had ever signed to her before. So from that point forward, she was, just really awesome in class, and we had a really neat relationship. But if you don't use it all the time, you kind of lose it. So my sign language is to me. And I am around Spanish speakers all the time. So my husband's fluent in Spanish, and I'm so jealous every time he rattles off. Gosh, I wish I could understand and know and help eliminate that barrier. Because it's really neat when I'm able to eliminate the barrier for people who need sign. And I just wish that I could be a better connector. And I think that's something I would utilize a lot. Maybe
What trait defines your style of instruction?
Man, I am a hands-on learner and teacher. I believe in the power of doing it, to the point that even as a teacher, I believe in pure instruction. So I love being able to put the ball in your court and have you be able to teach it out and share out what you know, because I know that you're going to learn it better when you're sharing it out with me or with other students. So I'm all about the hands-on approach, but I know I am a very much heart approach as well. So when I teach, I'm like, let's talk about the why and how it links to your real life. And I did this as a coach. I do that now in my consulting stuff, like the real picture of why. How does this change who you are? And how does this affect you in real life? How does this help you in your heart parts? And so I love the idea of navigating through the lens of why, but utilizing an engaged hands-on approach.
Was that something that you figured out pretty early on in your career, or did you have to develop that?
You know what?
Style?
It came natural to me. And as a matter of fact, I just did an assessment on my teaching and learning style. And I was like, well, of course, duh. Like, that's exactly how I am. I think every teacher strives to be good at all of the quadrants, all the parts, all the visual and audio and, all of the what different learners are, so that you're a good teacher to any kid that's in your class. But the reality is we all have something that we're just like predominantly normal at. And when I started coaching, I had a degree in theater and a degree in broadcast journalism. So education was not what my game plan was. I did not plan.
Okay.
I did speech and debate in high school, and then I judged in college. So I loved it. I knew it really well. I'd been brought in by school districts to help them because I was good at it. but coaching it was not my first thought. Directing theater was my first thought. And then that fell into my lap, and it turned into the most beautiful opportunity, because what we did in speech debate was a lot of real life application. And it was, 15 different events. So you never got bored. But I wasn't good at all 15 events, right? I was really good at the acting, because that's what I did. That's what I loved judging, and that's what one of my degrees was in. So the idea that I was going to be great at the debate pieces of it was just, it had to be developed.
Yeah.
So I learned early on that those who knew a lot around me, which I guess this is a good takeaway, those who knew a lot around me were not to be dismissed. If you knew something and you could contribute, I was all in for listening, learning, and letting you share out, which meant that I was highlighting students, because the reality is there were students on my team, even when I started coaching, that knew more about some of the events than I did. So, team captains and peer teach that I was really adamant about doing, because those kids, when I watched them teach, they not only grew in themselves, but being able to give that power away and be okay with it. And I think that's a great tool. Like, who am I to act like I know everything? That's silly. That's so dumb. There are things that I'm in charge of because I'm the adult in the situation, but you're incredible and you are smart. And I'm not going to pretend that I'm smarter than you in that way. And I think that that's impactful to give. We are all on the same team, and you know more about this. Okay, you share out this piece. I know more about this. I'll share out this piece. And that's just something that when I gave the peer teach a try right in the beginning, it worked like crazy. And by the time I finished my career, I was teaching at conferences on how to empower students to take their learning into their own hands, because it was impactful. And we were top 5% in the nation, and I coached 120 students. We had national and state champions, and never once would I say that was my state champion. It was our team state champion, because we all worked together.
Yeah.
Because I believe in the power of putting all of our minds together. But as far as the why and the real life application, like, my heart needed it. And I felt like, if you are only fighting for how is biology going to help me, or how is learning Lincoln Douglas debate going to help me, you have this one track mind, and you're missing all of these other pieces that all do exist on the side. And what does exist is that biology might teach you to think in a different way that could cross apply to X, Y, and Z in your life. Debate's going to teach you to research and to argue, and right. So there are life skills that you can take away when you give that. And when I would share out, hey, here's how the life skills apply, and here's why your heart needs to wrap around this, I just had such a huge success rate. And I guess that's how I learned. So that's what I attached to. So it really came pretty natural to me. I had to push myself to be a better teacher in the other quadrants. That was a lot of an answer. Sorry.
No, well, that's a extremely humbling take just on that situation, and realizing that you can empower the students that have other skills that you might not have developed as much as a student, that they can further develop with your help and your guidance, and come together to do great things. So that's incredible. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
Okay. Where am I? Sorry.
You're fine.
How different was your life 1 year ago?
Oh, I mean, way different, which I guess exactly a year ago, we were thinking we're going to come back from spring break any minute now, right? Like,
yeah.
But I was coaching a year ago, so it was very different. I just gotten home from TFA state, the state champion, like, it was very different. My memories on Facebook remind me of how different it was. But it's good, different. And I think there's growth and change. And one thing that I'll share this out that I think is a super powerful thought. I found it in a devotion once, and I wish I could find the devotion again so that I could actually reference it for you. But it said, growth equals change, and change equals loss. Loss equals pain. Therefore, growth is always going to equal pain. So there are parts that I believe in the last year have really grown me, but that doesn't mean they were without pain. Losing the opportunity to coach competitively, losing the opportunity to have 120 high school students minimum that you have in and out of your day every day that you can impact. that was hard. Like that felt like a loss, but I chose it. Like I chose to leave so that I could do this because I love Angelo State pieces and I love my speaking pieces, and the flexibility of not traveling 2 weekends a month from September to June with speech and debate was something that I needed. So, and I get to do more stuff with my kids now, but that loss was still painful. But I know that I'm growing as a person. I'm getting to do things that I would not have been able to do while I was coaching because time would not have allowed. And I believe that who knows what it looks like in another year, because I am still growing.
Yeah. Well, be encouraged. Keep it up. I don't know how much that means from a student employee here.
What? Thanks, Zach. Thanks.
Okay, and this is going to be my final question before I turn it back over to Aaron.
Okay.
If you found out you were the direct descendant of a king or queen, would you go find them and claim your throne, or keep your life as it was?
I don't know.
To change the tide of the...
What is that movie where she ends up being it's like a kid's movie. My daughter watches it, where she ended up being related to a queen and she had to make that decision. Like,
That's Princess Diaries.
You knew it. That was a test. You knew it. I knew one of the boys on the call knew. Princess Diaries. Love that. You have a daughter. So Princess Diaries is totally that movie, and I think there's pros and cons to both sides of it. I don't know. Watching all this with Meghan and Harry, right? Oh, I don't know. I'm going to say, as much as I say, when you are doing an interview, you never say, because I do interview coaching on the side too, you never say, I don't know, but I'm going to say, I don't know. Don't make me choose. I don't have to.
I don't know the entire situation with the royal. I don't even know their
away
names.
From it because it was brutal.
See, that's the best of both worlds, because they still have and I don't know what I'm talking about, but they're technically still who they are. But they're
royalty.
They're just pulling away from
life and a driver, but yeah.
They're just pulling away from all the stuff they don't want to deal with.
Yeah,
that's how I see it, but I don't know. What really goes
okay,
on
so I want to be Meghan. That's best of both worlds.
Okay, that's a fair answer.
That's tough though, man. I don't know what I would do in that situation. I don't know.
I'm pretty happy how I am right now.
Yeah,
I think I'll stick with.
But what if you were a really incredible king and you were to impact an entire country because you were so good at it?
That's true.
I mean, you seem like a pretty great guy. Like, what if they needed to? It wasn't an arrogant royal piece that controlled love and heart and normalcy.
I think there's an attractive aspect to being able to, rally your country and lead them to victory. I just watched the King's speech recently. I don't know if you have all that, and God, that I had never seen it before, and now it's easily in my top 3 favorite movies of all time. So great story.
Absolutely, yeah.
Well, when you're given that opportunity, Zach, you let me know what you choose.
I will. Absolutely.
What fad or trend do you hope comes back?
I don't know that I've ever been incredibly trendy. So I don't know. I still, because I keep up with a lot of my speech and debate kids from the last 13 years, and I still will be like, hey, I'm thinking about buying this pair of glasses. Is this cool or not? And I'll let them tell me, like, yeah, get them or don't, So I don't know. Trends. Yeah. I can think of a lot that I hope don't ever come back.
See, that's probably an easier question,
Yeah, like the windsuit, like the matching windsuits. Like, why was that ever? No, or the, the big bangs. Like, my mom made me have really big. I really hope that never comes back. So I can only think about the ways I've been scarred. I haven't.
Yeah.
I don't know, a really great trend that I just love. And a lot of mine are already kind of coming back, like the higher pants and the boot. That was a thing when I was, oh my gosh.
When did you first feel like you were an adult?
Probably when I accepted my first job, when they called and said, hey, we'd like to extend the invitation for you to take this position. And I felt like a big kid then. My very first day of teaching, I'm sure, helped solidify that, which was an interesting day for sure. But yeah.
That's awesome. I like that. I like that a lot. What was the hardest class in your academic career? Tough.
So history of theater was the hardest class, which sounds like a joke, but this professor was known as the most awful professor in the entire department. And she was just the worst teacher ever. Like, as a teacher, I can sit here and say, children should never have to go through the way that she made you feel in the class. She was just awful. She thought so much of herself that she forgot what she decided to be a teacher for. And I think that's something worth reflecting on as we all step into education in some form or fashion, is, what is your legacy? Because, and I talk about this, what you're going to be remembered. The question is how? How do you want to be remembered? Because good, bad, or ugly, you're going to be remembered. And as an educator, students are going to remember you. What is it that they're going to remember about you, take away from you? You leave a legacy everywhere you go. And her legacy in my mind was just how ruthless she was, how unhelpful, so needing to give grace and kindness. And she just really loved embarrassing you and making you feel stupid and putting as much content in class as possible, so that there was no way. And this was a day without Blackboard, right? So like, if you didn't get the notes down, you didn't have them. And that's just that. She went through them as fast as possible. And if you ever asked her to back up, she would just make fun of you in front of class. And then she would choose you to like ask questions to about a slide she knew you didn't get all the information on. It was awful. It was awful. And I mean, I say awful. I made a B and an A in the 2 semesters of it, but she was just the worst. Hated her.
Oh, that's awful. That's
You want your legacy to be. Yeah.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah. What's something you like to do, quote, the old fashioned way?
I don't know.
You don't know?
I mean, my old fashioned, I don't know. It's old fashioned. I like a good tea party.
A good party.
I
like that.
Yeah.
I think it's fun to write letters, like write and send letters.
My God. Let's talk about that. So I speak about the power of notes and quotes, and how important it is to write thank you notes and to write notes. So Zach, I'm with you on that. Matter of fact, my grandmother, and it's the example that I use, my grandmother, I will never forget, she sent a wedding present to someone down the street, and that sweet girl did not write her a thank you note. And my grandmother, I'll never forget it, sitting in her living room, she said, well, she's going to be real surprised if she sends me a baby shower invitation because she's not getting a gift from me, because she was so upset that she didn't write a thank you note, which is something that, of that generation was just unacceptable. And I do think it's a lost art to sit down and write thank you notes and write handwritten notes. And the power behind a handwritten note is beautiful, right? Because at the beginning of the day, if you write a note that says, hey, I've watched you and you're doing great, so let me know if you need anything, or hey, I believe in you, or you're amazing. When you have that note to hold on to at 4 p.m., you have a better memory of someone encouraging you or valuing you or reaching out to you. If someone verbally tells you by 4 p.m., you probably have forgotten, or you've let the self-doubt pieces become so heavy, right? Like, you don't have that reminder. I just think there's so much value in the physical pieces of it.
Absolutely. And then just something to hold on to,
Yeah, thanks, Zach. I'm stealing from you because I agree.
Yeah. So final question. I know this one's probably a tough one, and we probably touched on it a little here and there. How do you relax after a hard day of work?
I guess, I'd like to say that I come in and I instantly chuck my heels and, get into something comfortable. But I have looked up at midnight while I was still working, and I still was in heels and a blazer because I didn't have time. Like, I just came in and I started like cooking dinner and kids and homework and signatures. So I'm the worst at what do I do after a long day. But I love, the non-G version. I love a Crown and Coke Zero that is definitely my very favorite thing to be able to end a day with if I can. So we'll say that.
I like that,
Cool.
we'll say that that's probably a really enjoyable.
Girl.
Yeah.
I love it.
All right. Well, thank you again for being on with us today. It was amazing.
Thank you for
loved
having
it.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I know I kind of went over your hour, but I enjoyed getting to visit with you and hear from both of you and meet you both. Zach, good luck with your
Thank you so much. It was fun.
What a cool link that we're both from Seminole, and I didn't even realize
it. It went over in my head. I was like, wait. And then what threw me, I was like, you said your coach had passed away, and I was like, and then you said Seminole. I was like, did Stott pass away? I was like, oh no.
David Smith was my coach. Yeah, not Stott. He was a mentor, but he wasn't my coach. Bless your heart. That makes your heart jump for a second, doesn't it?
It did. I was so sad for just a second. I was like, oh no.
No, he's doing well, living in his new place, enjoying life. Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, thank you for being on. Thank you everyone for tuning in to this edition of El Cafecito. We'll see you next time.